So good evening. It's a real pleasure to be here. And so yeah, thanks to NDSA and Paul for inviting me to participate. So yeah, I'm Tom. I'm an architect based in London at Studio Bark. I'm also an environmental campaigner. So in my free time, I do a lot of work with groups like XR, also ACAN, the Architects Climate Action Network. So yeah, I spent a long time in Nottingham. I did all three parts of my architectural training here in the city, so it's a place I know and love. And I also stayed in the city for a while after graduating from Part 2, working for the artist Wolfgang Buttress. And yeah, this is the second time I've been a guest of the NDSA, so I did a talk which is available online, which is a bit more sort of long form. So I was asked to just briefly talk about an example project, and I've chosen Box House. So this was the first kind of scale prototype of U-Build, which is a flat pack system that we developed at Studio Bark. And really it's about encouraging self-build and empowering people to be able to create buildings and meet their sort of shelter needs directly. The other aspect of it is that it embodies a lot of the environmental principles that we try to strive for at Studio Bark. So it's bio-based materials and it's circular in its approach. So yeah, this is a project that we delivered. So we designed it, we also built it, and it arrived on site as a flat pack kind of kit of parts, as you can see on the left. And so those parts get assembled into build modules, which then go together to make the envelope of the building. And the principles of the system are that it's all mechanically fixed and it's modular, so it's on a grid, you can put it together, and it's also fully demountable if in the future you decide to take it down or modify it. Yeah, so we built this with a team of students. You can see on the left there, so this was the topping out ceremony, the very last box going into place, and there's just a photo there of the finished building. So how are we trying to change things? The next thing I wanted to talk about is really a sort of the next incarnation of Box House in a way. So this was a program that we called No Building as Usual, which really was about sort of developing this idea of self-build as a way of procuring a building and doing that in a way that's educational. So again, we brought together a sort of quite a diverse group of students from different disciplines and backgrounds, and it was very much a kinesthetic, immersive build program in which they built a radical sort of low-impact house. This was a GIF, but I think we PDF'd the file, so it's just a still. But what you're looking at here is the foundation system. So it's there was no concrete in this building. All the retaining walls were railway sleepers, reclaimed sleepers. The foundation was a demountable jack pad system. And yeah, in terms of the students, they got to see this sort of building through its entire process of construction. So we're really trying to bridge the divide between practice and academia, between the sort of theory of design and the practice of construction through the program. So that was the finished house. And kind of the idea of it was that this potentially could be a replicable model. So it could be something that other people in the profession, in the industry, could take up and run with. So I'm going to talk about some things that started within practice and have kind of percolated out and led to things beyond practice. So a permutation of the U-Build system was used for something that we're calling protest architecture. And the idea behind this was really exploring the question of what can architects and what can physical building offer to a social movement that is pushing for sort of systemic change in a time of crisis. So this was Trafalgar Square XR in 2019. And it was quite an interesting test case for a modular build system. So you had loads of these modules arrive at Trafalgar Square, and complete strangers from all walks of life were coming together and building a range of kind of installations and structures in the public space, which would allow the protest to kind of hold that space for a longer period of time and get the message out to the public. So this is my colleague Nick, sort of stood on one of the protest towers that was constructed during that time. Yeah, so that's Nick being removed, and he's actually, so he's gone on to write a book about this, which covers some of the stuff that we've explored, but also looking at a whole range of examples of this new phenomenon of protest architecture from different historical moments and also different geographies. So that should be available soon at all good bookstores, so do keep your eyes peeled for that one. Second outside practice thing that I was going to talk about is ACANS. So ACANS are sort of participatory vehicle for people who are concerned about the climate and ecological crisis, and it's a group to connect with like-minded people and seek ways of making system change. So it's very much a network thing. As with groups like NDSA, the strength is in participation. And yeah, so do check out the website, and if you want to know more, I'd recommend looking at the YouTube channel. There's loads of like great knowledge share videos and stuff like that on there. So what gives me hope? I think, I struggle with this question a bit, but I think what gives me hope is a lot of the things that the environmental movement have been talking about for a very long time, whether that's the problems and solutions, or whether that's the theory of change of how do we get from A to B. A lot of these ideas are percolating out into the mainstream culture. So just recently, I think a couple of weeks ago, there was this Chris Packham documentary which followed the journey of a number of environmental activists. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. So if you haven't heard of the Anthropocene Architecture School, do have a look at them, follow them on socials. Scott Macaulay, I think, is a really inspiring example of someone who, particularly for new graduates, someone who's really carved their own path and has opened a lot of doors for himself and for other people by sticking to his principles. Another thing that I think is very relevant to tonight's discussion is the Ethical Practice Guide, which has just come out from the RIBA. So Alistair and Caris, who wrote this, came to run a workshop at our site for Nest House. And yeah, if you get the chance to undertake their training, their workshop, it's really worth doing. And the final thing is Housing Rebellion. So this is a new group which is forming, and it's bringing together concerned professionals, housing campaigners, and also people who are very much on the sharp end of the housing crisis. So it's quite an interesting mix of people, and again, so do follow them. I think that this is going to go to some interesting places. So thank you very much.